What's going on, Illumineers, and welcome back to the madness. This is the first video in a couple days. I've been at Vegas for the DLC. We're going to do a video on what that was like. We're going to break it down, my opinions on it for my first ever event. But I wanted to get this out to you guys so we can prepare, we can get ready for what we're most likely going to see at Set Champs. Now, this video is particularly going to be a DLC, the Vegas DLC. Um, because not the regions are different, right, between Europe and America, but at the same time, a lot of the decks that did really well over there did really well over here. Green, purple, and blue, red being the big ones over there, and over here, green, steel, of course, but blue, red as well. So there's not going to be much different, and we're going to highlight those decks as we go through this, but we're going to specifically look at the breakdown of Vegas for this video. So take this, use it as you please to kind of prepare yourself. Do you have a lot of people in your meta that are going to net deck? Do you want to net deck? How can you prepare for all of this stuff? We learned a lot from these because this is what we can expect in 2 weeks at the first set champs. But with that being said, let's jump into it, guys. And our first thing we have here, this is brought to you by Forbidden Mountain. They were the ones that made this infographic, so I took it from them. So please show them some love as well. Give the credit goes to them. But on here, just to highlight it, Las Vegas, the highest, Ruby Sapphire, Amber Steel, and Ruby Amethyst were the biggest showings. That's what we all predicted. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone at all. Even for me, the biggest surprise on here was Green Steel, and I think most people can agree that that is and was the biggest surprise to see such a big showing of Green Steel. My assumption would have been that we would have seen a higher Green Yellow, that Amber Emerald, going in that fifth place spot under Green Purple. But yeah, there we go. I think this is kind of what everyone, for the most part, predicted. That's a lot of Sapphire Steel that I don't know if we were going to see. A lot of Hyper Aggro still that had a really good, I think Hyper Aggro had one of the better, it was either Green Yellow or Hyper Aggro had one of the better overall showings going into top day two. But yeah, so there's everybody that showed up. But let's look at day two. So day two, here is your top 64 breakdown. These are the decks that made it to the next level. And if we look at it, it actually looks like Amethyst Emerald, that green purple, had the biggest turnover rate. Well, if we did the math, it'd either be Amethyst Emerald or Emerald Steel. But what do we got here? What can this tell us? Well, Ruby Sapphire is just a monster, right? It's incredibly difficult to deal with. You have to remember that Ruby Sapphire is perfectly fine with getting rid of their whole hand because, half their deck is draw and half their deck's removal. So they can empty their whole hand to get high ink, and now they just have to top deck into the right stuff. Top deck into a Visions, top deck into the Sisu, the B Prep, whatever, the Scar even that they've started running. So there's lots of options for them to get the removal they need. It's just, do they get there in time? So Ruby Sapphire, we all knew was going to be the top dog as far as making it to day two, as far as the highest numbers, because everything that it does extremely, extremely well. If we look at, this Green Steel that we had, Green Steel won, they took first and second. Green Steel gives Ruby Sapphire time to build and ramp and things like that. So it's good versus hyper aggro. So again, we're not going to see a lot of hyper aggro going into events, because if Green Steel is the big thing that people are going to be net decking, then it Steel is going to do really good against that hyper aggro stuff. So it gives Ruby Sapphire room to shine. So we expected that. Green purple, it 9 people in top cut. What the deck does, it does well. It's a toolbox deck, so the better player you are, the better you're going to be able to utilize those toolbox options. The other thing it has going for it is that 2-cost Ursula is an effective combo, right? If if you got an Ursula and you're playing Steel Song, then maybe you Ursula into a bounce Ursula to play another Ursula, whatever it may be. Like that's all going to be really effective. So that toolbox just gives you options. Green Steel, of course, and different versions of green steel across the board, and we'll look at some of those as well. Steel Song, different versions of that we'll look at. We'll definitely look at the Blurple and the Ruby Steel. Those were pretty awesome to see in Top Cut. But yeah, that's our top 64. So use that as you please. But even 3 hyper aggro. So um, some key takeaways before we look at deck lists. I thought, oh, we'll go back. Who even needs Bucky, right? Everyone assumed Green Steel was just dead, gone, good night, because Bucky was gone. But we saw Green Steel take first and second. Bucky's not dead, guys, or Green Steel is not dead. Another key takeaway to look at is majority of the red blue. I think there was one red blue list that didn't run 3 brawls. I think the one did run 4, but I expect that number is going to change. I suspect that we'll see Ruby Sapphire. I think I said Ruby Amethyst, but I expect we'll see Ruby Sapphire jump back up to 4 brawls because of the green steel. So they can answer that Diablo early on. So they can answer the Ursula, Deceiver of All. And Brawl does that, right? It's not a song, so 2 cost Ursula doesn't take it. So it's just a really good option. So hyper aggro, it made it. You got to give it its credit. We got yellow purple, of course. There's a steel song aggro list we'll look at, and there was some purple steel aggro lists that did make it to getting Let It Goes. They didn't make it quite to day 2, but they still made it to Let It Go. So the deck is still really good. It's still I think a Let It Go is top 5%, something like that. So it's probably less than 5% to be honest. So you have to give it aggro credit. It's still doing really good things. If you can win by turn 4, turn 5, that's pretty effective. The Steel Song list, every Steel Song list but one had at least one Daisy in it. Now, with that being said, there was only 8, so 7 of the 8 had daisies in it. Alex Johnson was the only one that didn't run any daisies. So there's something to be said there. A lot of people, a lot of love, hate with daisies. I'm on that same train of, some love, hate with daisies. But to get under red blue, you might really need it. So something to really consider. But Alex Johnson is the proof that maybe you don't need it. You just have to get under red blue in different ways. And then we didn't see any purple steel in Top Cut. And that came as a little bit of a surprise to me. I really thought we would, just because of purple steel, what it does. But purple steel is also one of those decks that can respond really well to the meta. So something to be said there. But let's go ahead and look at some lists, guys. It's not all. We're not going to look at all the lists, of course. We probably won't even look at all of these. But the first one I wanted to look at was Zach Bivens, who went into day 2 in number 1. Excuse me. One of the big things I wanted to highlight was this Friar Tuck. Never seen anyone play this. Remember, I only started in the end of June, so if this was a big card in set 3, but Friar Tuck 4 cost 2/4/2. When you play this character, the player or players with the most cards in their hand chooses and discards a card. So one thing to keep in mind is that with this card, if you decide to run it, is remember that it doesn't say opponent. It says the player. So if you have the most cards in your hand, you're discarding a card. All right. So keep that in mind if you do decide to run this card. But that was a cool one to see. We got the cat coming in here, 5-drop, 2/2/2. Make them discard 2 or 1 cards. Most likely it's going to be 2 cards because they're not holding on to that action. They're trying to play it unless they just can't play it yet. So Zach Bivens list, doing green steel, proud, yeah. So getting that number 1 into day 2 is pretty awesome. So congratulations to you, sir. The next one I want to look at here was 72 cards with Humza Khan and running red blue. I saw somewhere, maybe it was the 20 Lore Discord page, that he's done this before in another DLC. Is he ran 72 cards. If there's a deck that can run this many cards, it's going to be red purple, or sorry, red blue, because it can draw so much, right? He's got the Gastons to look at cards, Gramatalas to look at cards. We got Visions to look at cards, one jump aheads, to, it's getting you more ink, so you're not necessarily worried about it. So it's just, you're getting through all your stuff. Everything's a threat. Everything's something you have to worry about. Three brawls, like I said, they're all running three brawls, but one, I think. But the two bells, just something, 72 cards, guys. So if you think you have to have 60 cards, you don't have to. All right. There's another list. We're going to look at a red purple list, I think, that has ran 64. So yeah, don't think that you can only run 60 cards, all right? Jonathan Lamb, this young man, he was my second pick to win it, just because he's a great young guy. His interviews was awesome afterwards. Well, every time, to be honest. But um, Jonathan, if you do happen to watch this for any off chance, maybe you upgrade the iPhone now. I know everybody in the Blue Steel chat was giving you a hard time for your golden Mickey picture, but guys, Jonathan Lamb killed it with his Blue Steel list. He's around Blue Steel, I believe, the last two DLCs he went to. I thought the spicy thing in here was Merlin's Cottage. Each player plays the top card of their deck face up. Really cool to see because you whole new world, or even if you don't whole new world, you get to see everything they're putting into their hand. And hand knowledge is a powerful thing. It's what makes one cost Diablo so powerful, Bare Necessity so powerful. But one thing that was really interesting with this card that is important to know is that at the DLC, when he played a whole new world, the judges ruled that instead of Jonathan having to memorize every single card as he was whole new worlding it, the judges made him lay out all seven cards from Whole New World, and then Jonathan could look at all seven cards. So something to keep in mind if you decide to run this list, or if you decide to run Merlin's Cottage, maybe even clip that of the judge saying that's the call, and you can show that to your local judge if they disagree. Just keep in mind it's their local's judge, right? So, but yeah, really cool card to see. Hand knowledge is an amazing thing. Only one fire the cannons, one baboom. So a little bit weaker into the steel song list, in my opinion. Only having the one fire the cannons, but it's an uninkable and it's not good into much besides. Well, it's going to be good into the green decks in steel song, but so maybe more than one. I'd be interested to see what he thought of only running one. A question I will ask him in the 20 lore page. But yeah, so it was really great to see him go so far and do so well. Alex, this one, I believe this is Wochuk. With the Gastons, I'm 99% sure this is Wochuk. If you didn't know, Wochuk is the one that made harps popular back in the day. Big fan of Low on Inkables with Steel Song. Um, I just wanted to highlight this one because I believe he was in fifth on day two. Let's see. Yeah, fifth on day two. So he was the highest ranked steel song player going into day two. Another thing is he was a big fan of World's Greatest Criminal Mind over Bare Necessities. He actually used it quite a few times, I believe, as well, from what I saw in the chat. We see the Chin Pose. I talked about this in my deck list video. I think Chin Pose is such an underrated card. The things that he does to make things, it just makes things so much more difficult for especially the red purple any purple matchup, any steel matchup. You play that, you turn your daisies sideways, your aerials, like anything, and you don't have to worry about them getting blown up most of the time. So that's pretty awesome. One thing to note: no piglets. All right. We got the four daisies, the four smees, and that's going to be your big questing power. So no piglets. So if you wanted to do an add piglet in, then you'd have to figure out what you wanted to cut to do that. But yeah, good job, man. Our winner overall, running green steel. Um, it's a heck of a deck, guys. This is, you know, two hidden coves, which is just makes things difficult for blue red when they're running so many Sizus and so little B preps because of this Pete. But you put stuff in Hidden Cove, and all of a sudden, their big Sisu doesn't kill it. The Ursula Deceiver of all, the best, one of the best plays in the game, with this deck, is to go Diablo on turn one, and then turn two, two cost Ursula, turn three, three cost Ursula, shift Diablo, and then sing, like a Let the Storm Rage on to draw two cards. Like, just crazy, amazing turns. If you guys really wanted to see what it means to pilot this deck well, then you need to go watch the live stream because there's so many ways that you can handle when things go into the bag with your Prince Johns and with your Muses and all the effects of different cards. Definitely watch the live stream. There's so many things you can do that is just really, really important to see. Bouncing your Annas to kill pretty much any character on the field, make them discard more cards so you can draw with Prince John. Just a deck that you may think it looks easy to pilot, but to play it well, there's so many different lines that you have to be aware of and to just be really good with it. Also understand that this deck is not going to get to 20 quickly. All right, this deck will run a little bit longer because you're not questing with your beasts, because you want the draw power. You're not questing with your muses or your Prince Johns, so you're just kind of chilling. You're getting to 20 incrementally, very very slowly, and just doing your thing. So yeah, good job, winner of the DLC. So this is the one blurble that made top cut day two. Um, one thing to note is he's running libraries. He's just really trying to draw through his deck. That's the big idea here. The one lore I'm sure adds up. I would be interested to kind of talk to him to see, hey, you ran library over castle. Do you do you wish you'd had one or the other? But the nice thing about it is you put the library down, and then if we look at, we have all these little guys in here, Mickey Mouse, Tippo, the Cogs, right? All these little questers. If you put them on, um, if you put them on the library, do they have to take out your library first so you don't get the draw? Meanwhile, you get the one quest, the two quests, and all that stuff adds up when your win con sometimes is going to be like your Elsa lock or the goats. um, so just doing some great things. Cusco's to control the locations, to control the lucky dime, because red blue can be a little bit of a harder matchup, or it is a harder matchup for this deck. Three Hades, so a lot of control options here. But just, I've said it before, Blurple is so far for me one of my favorite decks that I've played. It's a complex deck, but it's just doing amazing things. 13 on Inkables. You can use Yzma on Rabbit to draw three cards and get a 4/4 quest for two. Just a really effective, good deck. So good job, sir. Way to make Blurple proud, making it to day two. The deck that I was gunning to win it, as soon as I saw it, I was like, God, I want this guy to win, because he came in with some off meta craziness and said, look at me make day two like a Gustav the Giant, 6/6. This character enters play exerted and can't ready at the start of your turn. During your turn, whenever one of your other characters banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready this character. So now you just have a three cost that can kill pretty much anything. Like, that's pretty legit. Doc is your only draw in the deck, but you're not super worried about drawing because you get Tiana down, and then nothing can really kill Tiana. So if you get Tiana down, then there's no B preps. Like, all they can do is red blue can Sizu, and that's kind of it. Scar could come in, and Scar and Sizu are your big ones here. But if you put her on RLS Legacy, then your Scar can't even take out take out Tiana, so they're left with Big Sizu. Seven Dwarfs Mine with the spice. You move a character here, you deal 1 damage. If it's a knight, you deal 2. So now with Seven Dwarfs Mine and Happy or Doc, you kill Diablos. I mean, John Silver. Uh, just a really cool, funky deck that I can't wait to put together later. I mean, the deck's $200, so to be honest, that surprises me. Okay, it's the Robin Hoods. So yeah, it's just the Robin Hoods that are up there. So just a really cool deck. Happy to see it make day two. We are at 20 minutes, so we'll kind of. This was, I believe, the highest ranked red purple going into. I don't know if it's the highest rank, but I picked it out because it was 64 cards, just to show you guys you don't have to have 60. He's got the two big Elsas, only the 4 castles, no library, but we got the 2 super groups, we got the Lumières to make it harder for Big Sizu. So just a lot of different tech options we had going in here. One thing to note though is no cantrips, right? No draw options down here. So Olaf, making it hard for steel decks, for Rafiki, making it easy for you to trade into stuff. So, but yeah, that Rafiki with Crab, that's a pretty powerful combo right there, dealing 6 damage. Only 3 brawls though, 2 teeth and ambitions. So you don't necessarily need 3 brawls because you can teeth and ambitions their Diablo. Only 3 Mauis though. You don't see that very often. But yeah, good job, man. 64 cards. I think it may have been you, it may have been someone else that said, "Hey, I wish I'd only run 60," but it was probably someone else. But yeah, good job. Uh, what do we got? Okay, so this one, I picked this one. There was a gentleman, and I can't remember his name all of a sudden. I feel like an awful human being. He posted I'm trying to find it really quick, but he kind of did a write up on Steel Song and how he would build it compared to how DeCandio built his. And this list right here is the exact list that the gentleman talked about in in his write up on what he would run. Excuse me, why he would run it, and he explained all the options. So just thought it was cool to see that write up happen. I think it was on the 18th, and then see someone run the deck just a couple days later. I thought that was just kind of neat. So yeah, good job. Um, Here is the aggro steel song list that I talked about. Some spicy stuff coming in here. Kita, in bodyguard. You probably don't need it in bodyguard, but it's just another thing. Maybe you top deck it. It protects your piglets, your Daisy Ducks. Um, because you're just questing like questing like mad, right? You got the Lawrences, Binjas just to ruin, the Quills, Spins. When you play this character, you may ready chosen character. They can't quest or challenge for the rest of this turn. So you quest with your Piglet, ready it with Sven. Now it's even harder for them to take care of. And then we got the big Kita though, the big Kita shift. So big Kita shift in here. Now you reduce everything by 3, and almost anything they play can't really kill anything next turn. And that's crazy because you can play that and also use it to sing a whole new world. So just a really neat kind of hyper aggro steel song list that everybody was pretty happy to see. So good job. I think this was the top ranked. No, this one is just the hyper aggro list. It's the top ranked hyper aggro list. Everyone said that hyper aggro wouldn't be any good going into DLCs, but we had 3 make it. It calls me draw a card, then choose up to 3 cards from chosen opponent's discard, shuffle them into their deck. You're just looking to draw a card. Um, that's the main reason there. This, you're just trying to put everything in order, and you gain 1 lore. So a lot of times you're hyper aggro when you've run out. You're getting up to like 18 lore, 17 lore. So maybe you're getting the goats, the gathering knowledge. Is he running Baloo's? No Baloo. He's getting more proactive stuff than Baloo. So But yeah, just trying to find stuff. The Amethyst Chromacon, of course. No library, not even wasting time with it. Don't want to slow down because if you play a library on turn, whatever, that's a lot of other cards you could have played to gain more lore. So yeah, really neat. I like what he's doing. Oh, the Nala even the 0/4 quest for one Nala. It's just annoying to deal with. Like Daisy Duck, just um, it's a big body that you have to put a lot into to take it out. Um, so yeah, just really cool to see. I like seeing both of these, the draw there, and then this just coming in and getting your stuff to finish it off. So that's all the ones that I was really looking at covering. Um, I will put the link to the top 64 in the description of the video. But with that, I don't really have much else to say. Um, so yeah, I don't really have much else to say, guys. I will have, like I said, I will have a video of my DLC experience as a first timer that's never been to a big trading card event of any kind. And we'll talk about that, some of the amazing things that happened and the amazing people I met. But yeah, I hope it helps anybody try and figure out what they want for set champs. I wish you all the best of luck at your set champs, but don't worry, we're going to have a bunch of videos out before then. And we got some Steel Song videos coming up as well, based off of my experiences at the DLC. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful day. And that's not what we want. We wanted this one. So, but yeah, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. As always, we'll end the same way. I hope you guys are working on being happy and healthy. As long as you're working on either mentally or physically healthy or both, I promise you, happiness is going to follow. Happiness will be there for you. So, Illumineers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Until next time, have a good one.